Hi, it's Richard in the Old Okie Workshop. This video is on table saw safety. I tell you, I have seen so many unsafe acts on YouTube of guys doing things that are just freak me out. I swear someday I'm going to see someone cut their finger completely off and there's going to be blood everywhere. So I thought I'd do a video on safety and maybe it'll help somebody and prevent an injury. But before we begin, let's talk about shop safety. Be sure to read, follow, and understand all of the instructions that come with your power tools. Knowing how to use your power tools properly will greatly reduce the risk of personal injury. And remember, there is no more important safety item than to wear these safety glasses. So maybe you've heard that before. Norm Abrams on the New Yankee Workshop used to say that at the beginning of every one of his shows, and it is certainly good advice. So, first subject up is eye safety. Eyeballs come two to a customer. That's it. That's all you get in your life. And if you put one out, it's hard to go get a brand new one. You know what I mean? So it's real important. So safety glasses, I wear these because I'm, what am I, farsighted now? So I need to wear these things to see up close. If you don't wear corrective lenses, then there are safety goggles, this type of thing that you can use. So that's a real important issue, maybe one of the most important. Now, eye safety leads to finger safety. And the reason for that is because if you are using power tools and you're not wearing safety glasses and your saw is spitting back sawdust at you, that sort of thing, or something comes flying out and you're turning away and you're squinting and that sort of thing, that's not good. So if you're wearing safety glasses though, you're much more apt to get down there and look at what you're doing, get a close-up, get a clear view, and you can see what's going on, and you're much less likely to run your finger through the saw if you can see your fingers well and you can see where the blade is. And the other personal safety gear protection thing you should be doing is using ear protection. These are the kind I use, and you can use these or you can use earplugs, either one of course. Let's talk about cutting a large piece like this. So obviously I'm going to push this through the saw and I want to visualize, I want to think about what's going to happen. I've got the area clear, there's nothing on the outfeed table, I'm not going to be using a push shoe because I can have my hand far enough away from the blade, and I'm just going to push it forward, I want to keep it tight to the fence, and I'm going to use my thumb to help that, and I can also use this hand to keep it, you know, in the right position as we go along. So I'm pushing through like this. Eventually this piece is going to fall away, and then this piece I'm going to push that out well past the blade, and I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there, okay, until the blade stops spinning, or I walk around and get it from the other end. But what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to reach out here and grab this thing and pull it back over the blade. And I see that done so many times on YouTube. If you lose control of this piece and it falls down on the blade, it's going to come flying back at you and hit you. That's called kickback. The other thing is you've got to really maintain control of this piece as it goes by, because if this piece happens to kick over just a little bit right there and contact the saw, it's going to come flying back at you also. So kickback is a very, very dangerous thing, and we don't want that to happen. So control of this piece is very, very important. This piece is just going to fall away. That usually doesn't do anything at all, and you can quit pushing. When you get near the end, you can just quit pushing that piece, and you're okay. Now you'll notice I pushed that piece out onto an outfeed table. Now outfeed tables are critically important. They're a big safety item, and I don't even think they ought to sell a table saw without an outfeed table or something, some kind of an extension or something to catch your work. Like I say, I see so many guys reaching over the table to pull it back. That's a big no-no. And the work is just going to fall on the floor if you don't do that. So outfeed tables are really important, and I've got a video on the outfeed table and how I built it on this particular saw. Couple of more items. Once the cut starts, it's got to go through. So you're pushing, pushing, pushing. You do not ever stop and try and pull the work back out of the saw. Now, if something happens, the wood gets bound up, it gets difficult, something doesn't feel right, you notice that there's something you're going to knock off the outfeed table, or something is in the way out there, and you actually have to stop the cut, then what you're going to do is you're going to freeze. You're going to freeze, okay, and you are going to reach around and turn off the saw, and you're going to wait till the blade stops, and then you can back the work out, move the fence over, whatever you need to do to get the work free off the blade. But you would never ever try and back a piece out once the work has started going through the saw. So you're going to continue through, pushing it all the way through. This piece falls away, and then out you go off the end of the outfeed table. When ripping a wide workpiece, I can use my thumb and my hand, and also this hand over here, to keep the thing tight to the fence and down on the table and so on. But there's going to come a point in time when my hand is going to have to move over, and I do not want my thumb or any part of my hand over this red piece. So I got it figured out that this is about the limit right here, and I have a mark on the table, and when the fence covers up that mark, then I know that I'm not going to be able to use my hand. I'm going to have to use something else, and that of course is going to be the push shoe. So at this point I would start using that. Now let's move this way over like this, and say we're going to cut this board right here. Yeah, that's where I want to cut it. Lock the fence down. Now I have a feather board here that's going to keep the work tight to the table, because I don't want it raising up. If it raises up, I lose control. Maybe it kicks back at me. So I don't want that to happen. So I've got a feather board there, and then I want to keep it tight to the fence. That's where this feather board comes into play with these magnetic hold downs. So I place this feather board here back from the blade. We don't want it way up, you don't want it up in here. You want it back from from where the blade is. And so now I'm going to be pushing this through. Featherboard keeps it tight here. This keeps it tight to the fence. It's wonderful. And you just push the thing through. Now here's what I see happen a lot. I'm pushing the thing through, and then the guy says, uh-oh, where's my push shoe? Just a minute, I got to get my push shoe, get over here, come back and put the push shoe down. So you want the push shoe available. Remember, this is all part of planning and visualizing the cut. So let's get this out of here. So now, and also smooth operation is important. You want smooth operation. You don't want to be herky-jerky and stopping. For one thing, it causes burn marks in your work, right? So you're pushing this thing through, and you know that you need that push shoe. You grab that thing, put the push shoe down, and away we go through the thing all the way, zip, and push it out the end, and you've made a successful cut. Now, a lot of people advocate not standing in line with the blade as you push stuff through the saw. For one thing, it does tend to spit at you a little bit sometimes. That can happen, but also the kickback thing. And when you're ripping a narrow piece like this, that's not too difficult to do, because you're going to get to a point here when it's pretty easy to get out of the way and push it. If you're right-handed like that, you push it through the saw. But when you're doing a wide piece, I don't know how that's going to work, because you're certainly not going to be over here trying to push a piece through. That in itself is dangerous. So you're pretty well going to have to stand over here to push wide pieces through. Not much you can do about that. Besides that, this is the piece that's likely to kick back at you, and you can keep better control of that if you're standing over there when you push it through. Now, one more thing about the narrow piece. When you're pushing this through like this, and get your push shoe ready, I'm going to push it like this, and pushing on through and on through and on through. Your arm is over the blade, okay, right there, and you're going to flick this out, push it way back. So your arm's over the blade, and one thing you do not want is any kind of loose clothing. So short sleeve shirts are required. no loose clothing, no watches, no rings, no jewelry. That's a general thing that you do around any kind of machinery anyway. So here's the story for you. I know a guy who gets a table saw. He's inexperienced at using it. He's ripping a board. The board kicks back, hits him in the stomach. He loses his balance and falls forward. And to maintain his balance, he puts his hand down on the blade. He got it on the blade of the saw, all right? And it tore up his hand. And that's a horrendous injury. And he walked around for the next 2 or 3 months with his hand up in the air because it hurt too much to put it down to his side. So that's a serious injury, and it shows you that it's not sometimes the kickback that hurts. Every kickback situation I've ever heard of results in a bruise, an injury, I got hurt, you know, it hit me, that sort of thing. But what happens after the kickback, you know, it's not when you get shocked by the electrical light that you're working on, but it's when you fall off the ladder and hit the floor. That's what hurts. So kickback can lead to subsequent very serious injuries like that, and that's something you don't want to happen. So keep control of the workpiece. Now I've got some kickback video for you that I made. Don't try this at home. Don't even try it on your driveway like I did. You'll see why. Watch this. All right, so that's fun with a table saw, shooting pieces of lumber over at my neighbor's house. Did that a couple of times, and after I saw what that was, you know, what was happening, I freaked out, and I was afraid someone was going to call the county sheriff, you know, and have him come arrest me for shooting wood over at my neighbor's house. One of those pieces wound up over at the neighbor's. That's about 75 feet away. The other one went and hit the tree about 60 feet away, and then you saw what happened to the plywood. So plywood got turned into a frisbee, you know. So that's what can happen with kickback. In summary, wear eye protection and ear protection. Know how your equipment operates. Visualize and plan every cut. Push the work well beyond the blade. Wait until the blade stops to retrieve your work. Use feather boards and use a push shoe.